We thank God for today. We want to wrap up what we started yesterday. And by God's grace, we are going to enjoy the last part of it because we'll be dealing with the organizational leadership. So yesterday we stopped at the point we're talking about the systems building block. We looked at, for you to build a system, you need to have a purpose and a vision. You need to have a mission statement, and you need to build a structure, which means you must have time to plan what you want to do. You must have the law of right placement in place. We talked about the law of separation. They will talk about the law of people development. So it's not just enough to have a structure. You must engage developing your staff, as the case may be, your workers, because you may have a good structure when you don't have capable hands, people who are able to handle the structures. It will look like there is no structure at all. So people development is crucial in building up a formidable structure. So we talked about systems maintenance, that for you to be able to have an effective system, you must maintain your system. All right. First, you must use the tools of consistent monitoring. So you must monitor your system to be able to ensure that your system is achieving the goal, the purpose why a system was established. So the things you need to monitor in a system, number one is structure. Number two, it's process. Oh, let me share my screen so you can follow through. Number one is structure. Number two is process. All right. So you need to follow the process. You need to monitor the process, not just what is being done. You need to monitor how it's being done, which is a process. Then we also talked about the contents. You should monitor what is being done or what is being said. All right. You know, something happened yesterday or so, I think yesterday, and someone did something within the system, and I had to monitor the content. You know, a structure was set in place. Someone was given an assignment to do. All right. Now that assignment was important. Now the structure is that the person has been given an office. Now I also, as the one who delegated, I need to monitor the content the person is giving out. Because in some cases, when the content is not monitored, you may end up getting a wrong feedback. All right. So monitoring the content is one of the ways to ensure that your system doesn't break down. Okay. So monitoring the structure, are the people in their duty post, then what they are doing, are they going through the normal process? All right. Or they are cutting corners. You need to monitor it. Then you also need to look at what they are giving out, their content. Then we have to look at the rules for effective systems. All right. And we said a system is assessed by corporate performance, not individual results. This was said yesterday, that a system, the effectiveness of a system is assessed by corporate performance. What that means is that if if 10 of us have been given an assignment to do, and it's only 2 of us that did the assignment, it means that system is not functional. In the first place, it means people are occupying offices that they are not functioning in. So in the letter, it could be written that we have 10 departments, but at the end of the day, how many or it could be written in a document that we have 10 persons, probably in the music ministry. The end of the day, how many persons are driving that ministry is important. So to see that the musicians comes every Sunday to sing, it's not just enough. You need to find out how many persons are responding. So in a situation where out of 10, only 2 or 3, it shows that that system needs to be serviced. All right. So you need to understand that it's not about I did it all. It's about we did it. So an effective system is about corporate responsibility. Then systems are driven with overall vision and values of the organization and not just the leader's wish. So when you build a system, you must allow it to be driven by the value and the vision of the organization. All right. So ensure that you do not allow your personal value, your personal passion to override the value of the organization. Okay, so for example, you are in an organization, all right, and the organization is set up to make profits. It's not a non-profit organization. It's set up to make profit from society, and you are given a product to go and market on behalf of the organization. You don't have a right to start giving out those products for free. If you do that, it shows that you do not understand how a system runs. The best you can do is that you pay for persons. And now this is something that actually have crumbled a lot of Africans, their industries, all right? That, for example, I had a member then who was selling, and anytime I pass by, she wants to dash me either a bottle of Coke, a bottle of water, and all that. I said, no. I said, you cannot make it work this way. I said, if you want to sow seed into my life, come and give it to me. It's not when you see me, you are obliged to want to give your pastor something. I said, you are doing business. All right. So you are not here to come and be sharing what you have to your man of God. All right. So anytime she gives me, I pay her either double. Say, no, don't do that. I appreciate what you are doing. I know you are giving me respect and honor, but it's not just about you are here for something. So a system. So you build a system. So for some of us, we are selling and our family members come. What do? We give them for free. No, when you give them that idea that you can release things for them for free, they will never pay. It is better for you to either pay for them, give them money to pay. Give them money to pay to the right order. The reason we do that is so that the people will understand that you have a system. Yes, you have a system. Oh, that don't worry, is our ministry, is organization, there's no problem. No. Let them understand that there is a system on ground that is not solidarity for all. This is a system that is put on ground. So I don't have the right to break it, even though I'm the leader, because a system should override everything we do. So that's something that sometimes we do not follow through because we want to be nice. All right. So you can do good. No one says don't do good, but understand that let the good follows through a system. We said overall vision determines the process and the acceptability of ideas. Like yesterday, we talked about open system and a closed system. Like we said, that open system is a system where people come up with ideas. They have opportunities to kick against what is happening and to bring up new ideas. They have this privilege to share, all right, their view, all right? So when you find yourself in such system, or when you create such system, you shouldn't just accept every idea because you like it. Ensure that the ideas that are accepted must fit into the vision. Now, let me give you how this played out in the ministry of Christ. Now, in the Gospel of Luke, you remember when Jesus went to a particular community and the people did not accept him, and Peter and James and John, rather, sons of thunder, they said to Jesus, should we call fire from heaven that we may consume these people as Elijah did? And Jesus rebuked them. And when he rebuked them, he said something. You don't know the manner of spirit you are carrying. Then he told them that what you are saying seems good, but it does not tally with the vision. He said, I am not here to destroy men's life, but I'm here to do one thing, to save men's life. So killing them is against the vision. I don't know if we are getting what I'm trying to say. So it's not about good ideas. So sometimes there are suggestions that members will bring to you that will bring money into the church. But is it going to work out with the overall vision of the church? So like we keep emphasizing that it is not everything that works in point A that work in point B. But sometimes the Lord can tell you to replicate it, but it is not always the same. So you don't just accept ideas because it's coming from your spiritual father or because it's coming from your close friend, because it's coming from somebody who cares. All right. So Peter actually cared about Jesus and he didn't want him to die, but that idea was not accepted. Jesus said, "Get thee behind me, Satan," because the vision is that I should die. So now you are telling me I don't have to die. So if I don't have to die, then that means I have to disobey the Lord. So you must be careful even when you try to want to accept ideas from people. Then for those of us who are working with people, don't always enforce your idea, because immaturity sometimes makes people to withdraw. When their ideas are not accepted, they don't want to hear it. Oh, they feel, oh, because of me, somebody else the idea will be accepted. No, when you think that way, it means you are not matured enough. It means that you're not matured enough. When your ideas are not accepted, it's good you know why. All right. Then for those of us who do not accept ideas, don't also be saucy. All right. So you should be able to reject ideas based on a superior argument. All right. So the reason why we can't do this is because of this and that and that and that. All right. Because if you say, I don't know, I don't just want it. All right. Most times we hide under the Spirit of God is not giving me approval. All right. But God may not always tell you why, but sometimes there are some clarity you can bring in. I don't have peace in my spirit to do this, but I desire to do it, but I feel it's not something we need to do at this time. It's a good idea. Because sometimes we are pushing ideas into a system that we crash that system. And that's what a lot of people are struggling with today in ministry. Then we said discipline. You must be disciplined for you to engage an effective system. You must instill discipline. Don't condone rotten attitude. The law of bad apple, never forget that. Integrity is also very important. Then justice and a reward system. All right. Now, we have to also be careful with this last thought of justice and fair reward system. Yes, the Bible tells us that Jesus gave some talents. And at the end of the day, those who use the talent, we are rewarded with a higher level of responsibility. All right. The one that had 3 had more, the one that had 5 had more, and he promoted them to work. Yes, this is a reward system that is also very, very helpful when working in a system. So I appreciate those who are working within the system, but I said you have to be careful. You know, I've seen people who try to give award to departments and how it has created problems. All right. But in a true sense, you need to appreciate people for what they are doing. So you have to be careful in how you go about this. All right. And you have to make sure that your reward system is fair, is just. Don't be partial. Because you don't appreciate B for what A did. All right. So you must allow people to enjoy the glory of their work. So in writing, it's called fagarism. You don't take somebody's work and present it as your work. All right. If you are a leader, you brought up an idea to the entire society, and it works. All right. But that idea, you got it from somewhere. It's good you acknowledge your source. That not originally my idea, is an idea from my worker or something. It shows that you represent the system. So when you try to suppress others from giving them credit for what they do, you begin to lose and break down the system and order. So let's look at the 3C of teamwork. The 3C of teamwork. See the 3C of teamwork. If your team will work, because for you to have an effective system, you must build a team. All right. The reason why you have teams is because you want to create a system. Now, the reason why you have a system, a team, is because you want to, because of your system you are building. So you have music team, you have prayer team, you have ushering team, you have media team, because you want things to flow in their order. Now, for you to have an effective system, you must have a working team. All right. Now, for you to be able to build that team, there are three things I would like to talk about. Number one is collaboration. The image you are looking at presently is two people helping someone who is having issue. All right. So now there's need for collaboration. When you are in a team, you don't compete with who does the work. You are in a team to help each other. All right. So the man behind needs the support of the man at the front. All right. Now, in collaboration, it means that you bring up your ideas, all right, to support your brother or your sister. So, for example, you are not in the media, in pastoral care, all right, and possibly you encountered some information that will help the media team. You don't keep it to yourself, because you understand that we are a team. So what you do, you take that information, it could be a link, and you send it to the person in media and say, you go through this link. Probably you will learn one or two things that will improve your production. That is collaboration. Now, where there is competition, you keep that link, you learn it, then you want to try to come out as smart those in that team or that department to show that you know it. No, you rather want to encourage them to learn. In the same vein, when you find somebody who is, for example, in hospitality, and you got some nice idea or concept, what do? You go to the team leader there to introduce the thoughts. Yes, some will say there are people who don't listen. Yeah, but you do your part. All right. So there are different ways you can even buy a material, send them link, encourage them. All right, because you understand that you are working together as a team. Okay, so collaboration is one thing you must engage. Individuality, ability, agility, perspective, and energy. It means that the individuals bring up their ability, their energy, their perspective, and they bring it together to ensure that something is done powerfully. So the beauty of a team, like the acronym says, together each of us achieve more. So this togetherness is not just coming together physically, it's about sharing thoughts and pruning our projects, all right? Bringing up ideas that will enhance what probably the team leader has. So a team leader should always fight for an effective teamwork. Number two, it's communication. Now, no matter how big your dream is, no matter how important your dream is, you must ensure that communication is taken seriously. How you communicate matters, determines if the people will listen, determines if they will be committed to it. So communication matters. So you must give time to communication. You must learn how to communicate. Now, when you look at the life of Moses, you know, Moses had an encounter with the Lord, and the Lord told him, Moses, you go forth to Egypt and go and bring my people out of captivity. Moses asked, how? How do I convince them? That is the aspect of communication. How do I influence them to believe that I actually met with you? God gave him so many tips the name, the road, and all that, some signs. There were signs. So you need to understand that communication is key. Jesus didn't just raise a team or build an effective team in isolation. He communicated. That is why you have to develop yourself in public speaking skills. There is nothing you can learn. It's about skills. All right. The human brain is too powerful. All right. The limitation we have is when we say we cannot. If you give your time to communication, you can do better. Like I keep saying, communication is not about grammar, it's about your audience. So you need to work on your communication. If you want to build an effective team, work on a communication. Look at feedbacks. Vulnerability is something you also need to look at. That if you communicate with your team often, you are going to probably expose yourself. But be ready for that, because a lot of people works in teams, they keep to themselves, because I don't want anybody to know my weakness. I don't want them to know I have a challenge. When you are like that in a team, you can't be effective in a team. But when you are in a team and you share your personal struggles, it helps your team to support you. You know, sometimes we as people, we expect people to come and be asking us private questions. But if you are open enough, you are able to share. Please pray with me in this area. Please, I have this challenge. I have challenge. Please, I want you to support me. You know, when we know that, like tonight, one of the staff told us she has lost her voice, probably because of the activities she had. Is very okay. So if we do not know that, and she's quiet when she's called to do something, look as if, why is she not talking? That singular act of being silent, all right, can create a lot of thought in the heart of the team members. All right. So when you communicate constantly, all right, as a team member, it helps your system to work best. All right. So when people are quiet and keep to themselves, it affects the system. Emotional intelligence is very, very important. What is emotional intelligence? You know, there are three dimensions of intelligence. We have intelligence quotient, IQ. That's you have the ability to pick things quickly. You can easily learn. That's IQ. Then we have emotional intelligence, which is the ability to deal with people. All right. When you do not communicate effectively your emotions, you will have problems. You know, there are people that they hardly work with people for a long time. When people offend them, they park their car and they go. They don't tolerate. Now, if you are in a team, you must be ready to tolerate. You must develop the emotion. Sometimes you are angry. Yes, it's normal. But when anger comes down, even when you are angry, you have to be careful not to do certain things that will break your relationship with people. Because in a team, there's definitely going to be conflicts. Like we heard in our team work teaching, that conflict is not bad. The problem is that conflict leads to unforgiveness in the heart of people. Someone said, what separates men in marriage or women from their home is not conflict, it's unforgiveness. What breaks a team is unforgiveness, is not conflict. So when there is this emotional intelligence, so no matter what happened, you are able to chest it. You are able to chest it. So it is very important that you communicate. So when people begin to express themselves, they grow. The final part of the intelligence I'm talking about now, we talked about IQ, EQ, which is emotional intelligence, and SQ, which is social intelligence, and has to do with how you relate with people outside your team. All right. So you when you are used to people within your team, you need the emotion to handle them. But social intelligence has to be cross-cultural. You have to cross-culture. You have to speak to people. You have to be sociable. You have to be intelligent enough to know what's happening outside your domain so that you can communicate with people. Then information is key. People wants to know how. Constant. For you to be able to build an effective system, you must have a constant information. Now, the last one is coordination. Coordination. Now, when people talk about coordination, what comes to mind? What comes to mind? Now, for your team, like we said before, monitoring, all right, is almost the same thing with coordination. Now, you must ensure that things are coordinated in your team, social intelligence, and active listening. Now, if you want to build up an effective team, like we said, you must learn to engage people outside your sphere of influence. Another thing is active listening. You must learn to listen to people, especially in your team and outside your team, because it is people who receive your services that can tell if your system is working effectively. So active listening is one of the ways you get feedbacks. Active listening is not just hearing what they said, you can also hear what they didn't say. How they feel is one of the ways you can coordinate. So when you begin to see reactions, you have to quickly about it. Like we said, you have to monitor the structure, you have to monitor the process, you have to monitor. The last part we say you have to monitor is the content, structure, and the process and the content. So you have to coordinate all of this to be effective. So in conclusion with this part, we've looked at what is a system, what is systems thinking, the benefit of systems thinking, systems building blocks, rules for effective systems, and the 3C of teamwork system, and system maintenance. And we've concluded with all that I'm about to say. So system maintenance is crucial, and by God's grace, we are going to dive into another aspect of this teaching, which I call organizational leadership. Now, it is very, very important for us to drive on this note. But before we go into organizational leadership, I want to ask if there's any question so far, because I'm going into something a little bit different. Any question, please? Exodus 18. Exodus 18, verse 12. So we're going to be dealing with that. Exodus 18, 12. Exodus 18, 12. Please, I'd like you to turn to your Bibles, because I'm going to spend some few minutes on this text to challenge our mind to some things that will enhance our study in the second part. And Exodus 18, verse 12. I would like someone to read. When you read verse 1, you have to wait and make a comment until we get to the very point I want us to dwell on. Exodus 18, verse 12.
Exodus 18:12 says, and Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifice for God. And Aaron came and all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God.
Okay, verse 18. Sorry,
18.
verse 13.
13. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people. And the people stood by Moses from the morning until the evening.
Thank you. So let's stop there for a while. We'll continue from verse 14. Now, what happened in this story was Jethro was Moses' father-in-law. You remember when Moses received the call, he was at Mount Sinai in the wilderness while he was leading the flock of his father-in-law Jethro. Now, Moses was a fugitive who ran away from the dread of Pharaoh. So when he ran away, on his way, he went into this community. Eventually, he began to work with the man and eventually married the daughter. So Moses became a servant to his father-in-law, in quote unquote. So when Moses received the call, he didn't go with his family. He left them behind, and the journey started. So, it was on his way that Moses met Aaron. He met Aaron, and so Moses married without family. I don't know if his family was there, why he paid the bride price. Bible didn't tell us much about that anyway. But when he went to Moses and Aaron went to Egypt, and God did all that he did. So while he was coming back, they passed through, they were coming back, and the father-in-law, Jethro, who was a priest in the land of Midian, all right, went to meet with them and offered burnt offering and offered sacrifices to God. So I would say this man was a priest, and we don't know if he was a pagan priest, but we can say he was a priest that was serving a God. All right, because Bible says he offered sacrifices to God. So it was a big letter G. So when they came, Aaron was also there, I'm sure Miriam and all that. So they ate bread with Moses' father. So they were rejoicing. So Moses welcomed him into the tent. At that time, they were not building houses because they were still moving. So Moses left the father-in-law in the morning and to minister to the people of God. So when he got there, he was judging them. When he says he judged the people, wasn't that they were bringing cases to him as a pastor, just like what we call today counseling. So Moses counseled people, and people stood before Moses from morning until evening. So there was a long queue, a place people were, this one, hey, Moses and James took my tomatoes. You say, why? Why you take tomatoes? The Bible says don't do that. Yeah, okay, what do you do now? Go and replace the tomatoes. So I said, Moses, this one took my broom. Why? No, it was just like doing the work of God. So from morning till night, and everything was not organized. So Moses was a man that had received a call from God, but there are things that Moses lacked. So in verse 14, hear what Moses father-in-law said.
And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, what is this thing that thou dost to the people? Why seated thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning unto evening? Yes. And Moses said unto his father-in-law, because the people come unto me to inquire of God.
Thank you. Thank you. So you see the way Moses said it, as if he's the only anointed man of God that can only do the work. So you see, father-in-law said, why is it that you stand, everybody come around you? Some of us pastors, we enjoy it. After we have finished a program, then the people gather and queue up, come and say, Pastor, pray for me. You are praying for them. There's no other pastor that can pray in your church. You are the only one. No system. Someone will come, Pastor, I'm traveling tomorrow. It is well with you. God bless you. Amen. Say, Pastor, my wife is going for operation. Oh, bring her. It is well with you. God bless you. There's no system. Moses was like that. So he said, why do you always allow people to stand and sit, and you are there alone? They are all standing waiting for you from morning until evening, because they had a lot of people. And Moses was telling his father-in-law, you see, they are the one coming to me to come and ask of the way of the Lord. The people love the Lord. I want to help them to know God, to inquire of God and all that. And he even went further to explain in verse 16. Hear what he said in verse 16.
When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I will judge between one and another, and I will do make them know the statutes of God and his laws.
Yes, that was counseling. So when they have issue, I'll counsel them, and I will also teach God's word to them. It was explaining to Jethro, but Jethro responded to him And what was Jethro's response to him?
And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing that thou doest is not good. Thou will surely bear away, both thou and these people that is with thee. For this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone.
Thank you. So Jethro made it very clear. Moses, what you are doing is not good. Though. It's not good at all. Why is it not good? Yes, you are doing a good work, but the way you are going about it is wrong. There's no organization here. He said, you will not only destroy yourself, die before your time. All right. You are going to destroy the people. How can they be waiting for you for counseling from morning up until night? So you wear yourself out. You are not able to do ministry alone. You must understand that you need people. You need people. Sure, you can borrow money to do ministry, you can borrow money to run businesses. You cannot borrow leadership or leaders. You need people that will stand with you. So that's why you need to develop emotional intelligence. You need to be able to work with people of different and character, work with people of different nations, to be able to understand people, because you need people. You need people. So Jethro said, what you are doing is not right. It's not the right way to go about it, because I understand leadership. Leadership is not about I am the one doing it. Leadership is about we did it. So how can you be doing it alone? Then Jethro advised Moses. Let's hear the advice. Exodus 18:19.
Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to God word, that thou mayest bring the curses unto God. 20. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shall show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. He said, listen. So let me give you counsel, Moses. He said, and God will be with you. He said, go before God. How? He said, go and seek the face of God. You should represent the people before God, rather. How do you do that? Say, bring their cases and causes to him. You understand? So you should have what we call job description. All right, you should have organogram. Don't just run ministry like that. Everybody just do whatever they like. You should have a structure. Let your position be cleared. Like the Peter and the apostles said, that we will not leave the ministry of the word and prayer to be serving tables. We want to hold our position. So you go and represent them before God. All right. And in doing this, you should also keep your ministry of teaching the word, which is very important. Show them the way in which they must walk. That means show them how to do this work, and tell them the work they must do. Talking about job description, talking about officiating manual, the department, the protocol should know how to welcome people. How do you want it to be done? Show it to them, tell them, teach them, train them, develop them to know. Those that are in counseling units, teach them what counseling is. So that is your role, is to empower the people to solve the problem. So you are not the one that should be solving the problem. As a pastor, you see, problems that comes to you should not be little issues. So he said to him, this is what you should do. In verse 21, please read verse 21. Verse 21.
Provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating, covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties and rulers of 10.
Thank you.
And, okay.
Thank you. So what is Moses, what is Jethro helping him to see? See, you can have different structure of leadership. He said, hey, this is what I suggest you do. Select people from among them. Selection. He said, how do you select? Able men. So it was giving Moses a strategy on how to recruit people who are able to perform. Competence, like we talked about yesterday. People who are capable. The next thing he said, those that fear God. The fear of God is the beginning of knowledge. Those that have reverence for God, not those that fear God as in God will keep me to the no. Those that have value for the word of God. He said men of truth. People who hate covetousness, because people who love money, they will always take bribe, because there are people that you are to set on power that will make decision on behalf of God. So there should not be people that can be bribed. Say, place such over them to be rulers. There are thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10. Local government, districts, region, and federal. Thousands. All right. In our state, we have local government, then we have state governor, then we have presidency. All right. So all of these are layers of authority. So when at the lowest level, 10, which is like a community, maybe people living in your neighborhood. So you have it. In Africa, we call them the Odionweris, people who are the elders, the ballets of a community. So when there are issues in your community, you go to them. So when they can't solve the issue, they take it further. So before they will go through 10, through 50s, through hundreds, gets to thousands, they will find solution. But in some cases, if they don't find solution, they will bring them to you. At that point, everybody will be functional. People will get their issues addressed on time. All right. They don't have to wait for morning till night. So their issues can be addressed appropriately. That's the idea of building systems and structure. Please, ma, read the next verse 22.
And let them judge the people at all season, and it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee.
Thank you. So the essence of organizing leadership is for them to bear the burden with you. They are not there to come and cause you pain. So when you are a leader, know your assignment is to bear the burden. So the things that would be a burden to the leader, he push it to the co-leaders. All right. So he said, Moses, don't kill yourself with the work of God. If you die, you are on your own. You know, and it was this advice that still killed Moses, because Moses was already angry with the people when they needed what they were complaining, but he didn't know how to control himself. So Moses wasn't able to control his temper, and he misapplied what God told him to do. So, beloved, Jethro's counsel was approved by God, and if you read down this chapter, you discover that Moses went to the Lord, and the Lord told Moses to go ahead with the counsel of Jethro, and eventually Moses raised up a team, a leadership team, that eventually Moses began to work with them. That is what metamorphosed into the different offices, the high priest, the chief high priest, and all of that. And people began to function in their own ability. So, beloved, organizational leadership is biblical. System building is biblical. All right. Like we started from that God built system so that he can have rest. So when you build system and your force is working, you can have rest. When you build financial system that is working without you, you will find rest financially. If you build spiritual system that is working for you, you will find rest. So let us not just carry people around us who do not understand what we are doing because we want to have crowd. It's better to have few people who works with you and you achieve the purpose of God than to have the crowd who is not even following what you are about to achieve. It becomes difficult and frustrating. May God bless us and keep us in Jesus' name. Amen. Beloved, we are going straight into some thoughts on organizational leadership. I want you to please open up and ask questions. One of the ways we can learn, unlearn, and relearn is when we ask questions. It also provokes the thought of the teacher. When questions are asked, it provokes the thought of the teacher, then it helps the teacher to also put things in the right perspective. So please, let's query thoughts. Let's query thoughts. And this is a school, like I keep telling people, that in a school, you don't take everything hook, line and sinker. You have to ensure that you process what you hear. And so you are trained to process things. So you can start practicing it here. So if you can question and query what you hear, then it's possible that you'll be able to stay to judge even while you are not with us. So I as a person, I love to challenge content because I believe whatever I hear and believe is my life. And I don't know how to believe something and do something else. If I don't believe it, I don't believe it. All right. But if I believe it, before I believe it, I have to be able to accept it first by judging what I'm hearing. So I really want to encourage us in pastoral care and leadership to please do the same. And don't accept a thought because you respect the personality. All right. Accept thoughts because you know it is something that is right. So it's very important. So let me talk a little bit of organizational culture. Now, if you're building an organization, we're going to go a little bit into the social space. Organizational culture is a group of internal values and behaviors in an organization. It includes experiences, ways of thinking, beliefs, future expectations. It is also intuitive with repetitive habits and emotional responses. We also call it corporate culture. Now, organizational culture is actually something people see about you, about your organization. All right. And that is what Christ was talking about, that by this shall all men know that you are my disciple, if you have love for one another. So Jesus wants us to be a community of love. That one of the ways people can identify you is how you relate with each other. So a culture is something that we refer to as a people way of life. So organizational culture is what the organization values, the behavior of the organization, all right? What they believe, what drives them, all right? How you respond to things. And that's exactly what we're talking about. So organizational culture is the result of a perception within your company that its employees all share. So in an organization, you need to know the culture. When I mean culture now, the predominant culture for the organization. Okay, so there are some organization, there are some things that are not accepted. Okay, and it's very important that you respect organizational culture. Now, I did some jobs and some printing jobs with with a firm. So because I was away from the city, I had to do transfer of money because I wanted the job to be actually collected by someone who was in Benin. So when I was to send them money, let's say the exact money was like 12 euro. All right. And I felt, okay, why will I send 12 euro? So why don't I just send 15 euro? So that the person I'm sending there can take the 3 euro for his transport. Okay, so I didn't ask the organization. So they gave me the account details and I asked them the balance and they sent me the balance and I forwarded 15 euro, for example, to them. So after forwarding, I wrote them on WhatsApp. I've done this transfer. I sent them the receipt. I said, please give the person coming for the documents the extra 3 euro. They said no. I said, why? They said, we do not give change. It's a rule in the organization and there's nothing I can do. And I said, talk to your supervisor. She said, it is a rule. Even the supervisor cannot change it. And I said, okay, there's no problem. She said, when I have job all that time, I can add to it. I said, fine. And she appreciated me. I said, thank you for understanding. I said, no, there's no problem. I should have asked. Because I didn't ask, then I don't have to blame you because you are working in an organization. That is a rule. It's a standing rule. So you see, that is the culture there. You don't take money from clients. So you see, these are things that we sometimes don't build into our ministerial works because we do that. People say you are too rigid and all that. There are some things you don't do. There are some things that there are some. Oh, let me not go too detailed. You know, when a church doesn't establish this culture, they would begin to function outside their value. You know, there are sometimes many of us, we complain about some churches making some rules and all that, and all that, and all. It's because of probably what has happened. Like some will tell you, for you to get married in this church, you must be a member of a department, or else the church will not conduct your marriage ceremony. Somebody say, that is by force. Or no, it's not done. Because sometimes people, probably the people they have involved in their marriage for the past years, all right, they are people who were not born again, but who came to church and out of zeal, the church embraced them, and what they saw was the real bullets. So then I said, we cannot be involved in anything that concerns your family until we know you, until we see your commitment. So such organizations that build such culture, sometimes we throw stones at them, we say things about them, is what they have seen. So when the day you come in, they will tell you, in this place, this is what we do. Okay, you don't have rights to do this and that if you want to work with us. Hello, it is very, very important. But one thing we tell people, let your culture be built from kingdom culture. So it is where you build your culture from that actually determines. All right. So like Richard Perrin, partner and head of advisory at KPMG in Romania, he defines the term as the sum of values and rituals which serve as glue to integrate the members of the organization. It means that your organizational culture is that value and the things you do. Rituals are the things you do, not really bad. Maybe you say for you to become part of this organization, you must be married, or you must have 2 wives or 3 wives. That is what determines if you become a member of the organization. That's what determines if you become a leader in the organization. So because you can't pick people you do not have a relationship with to come and help or work with you in an organization. So it's a glue. So you should be able to create it. You know, some people, you can find these things in the mission statement of organizations, some in their vision statement. So corporate culture comes under the umbrella theme, organizational economics. Some call it organizational economics. It's a study of how humans create and develop organizations. It also looks at how organizations affect economic growth. So when you create a very strong organizational structure, it will affect your economic growth and development. The reasons why we have problems in Africa, we have a lot of natural resources and nothing to show forth for it is because we do not organize. We do not have a culture. So anything goes because that is a system we have put on ground. Now, it's the slide says companies can create or shape their organizational culture through leaders. Leaders can communicate and lead according to what companies want in their corporate culture. So for us to communicate, to create a culture, the leaders are the tools. They are the tools. Now, if the leaders are not willing to create a culture, then the followers will create it for them. So, however, even though leaders can shape the internal culture, in some cases, companies already have a strong and established culture. In such cases, this can determine what type of leader the organization requires. So if you know what you want, it determines those you want to bring on board to come and lead with you. Company leaders also have to be aware that a corporate culture can change. Very important, can change. Sometimes, like our sister asked, the structure, it can change. We must remember that culture is linked to knowledge. In other words, whatever didn't work in the past would have to be done differently. Someone said that the best way to define insanity is to do something the same way and expect a different result. So if your structure is not working, then look for a way to make adjustments. Consequently, if any belief or idea doesn't go with the internal environment, then the organizational culture will evolve. It means that you have to put some changes. All right. So if the way you do things is not working, then you have to go back to the drawing board and look for a better way to do it. All right. But when you stick to a particular idea because you think that's the only way, you are not working out rightly. So adapting to change is crucial. So you need to change with the tide, but you need to keep the vision intact. Leaders should also be aware of how hard or easy it can be for the corporate culture to adapt to changes in the company. You see, adapting to the marketplace may also be hard. You know, in this context, the word marketplace means the same as market in the abstract sense. It means when you're talking about and changing your product. Okay, now something happened a couple of years ago in our country, and I actually learned from it. We have majorly, we have so many toothpaste, though, but we have Close Up, then we have Pepsodent, we have Orabi. All right, but at the time, Close Up took over. Yeah, we have Close Up, we have McLean, then we have Orabi and Pepsodent. But so Pepsodent and Orabi happens to be a high class toothpaste. Is more expensive. Then we have the McLean and the Close Up that looks like for the low earners. So when things began to get tougher, pre-COVID and post-COVID, so the economy was not tight. So normally, if close-up is for $5, Orabi would be like for $100. So it got to a point that people could not afford toothpaste for like $100. So everybody began to go for close-up, who was not selling for like $50. So Orabi saw that they were losing their markets. What they did was that they did not change their brand. What they did was that they have to make another spec of the Orabi. So they made that to enter the marketplace. So what they did, they made another spec of the same Orabi, and they brought the price to the same price with close-up. And they also left that price of which was high for like that was higher, they left both in the markets. So because people already know that that this Orabi is an expensive toothpaste, so naturally people began to see it as something cheap. So they began to compare. So if I can buy close-up that I know is substandard for 500 naira, for example, then and I have the same Orabi for 500, so people began to go for Orabi. So what has happened? It's like they have changed their values. No, they are in business to make money, not just to make name. So they discovered that they had to reorganize their marketing strategy. So but initially they wanted to have a vision where they have to make a standard product in the market. But they got to a point that people no longer care about standard, but what they care about now is just something they can use. So in the business world, it's called adapting to the marketplace. But in the kingdom, do we do same? No. This is where a lot of people twist the gospel. All right. Now, the only way this applies to us in ministry is that, hey, now I have a message. The message is the toothpaste. I cannot do a substandard message because I want to reach out to my audience. What do? I have to look for another means to reach out to the people. So, but the easiest thing to do is to reduce the quality of the message, because those who does other things, they want to give people what they like. So that is why it becomes difficult in ministry, that you can't just change the content, but you can change the strategy. So in some cases, employees can be resistant to change. They may even try to work against it. That's true. However, communication leaders can address this behavior. So sometimes it's the leaders that will say, no, it won't work. Some will say it will affect our name. In short, I was in a meeting, and I and this meeting we were to be coming to come and be plan a Bible study routine. It's a conference, so we come together. We also plan the topics and all that. So I saw us struggling to meet, and then I suggested to them, this one that we are struggling. We said we'll meet by 4. Some will tell you by 4:30, I'm on my way. By 2:05, some will not come. By the time we start, we won't even do up to 1 hour. We'll say, please, time has gone. You go and do it at home and send your report. I said, why don't we just make it online? That anytime we are meeting, we can meet and spend time. Then struggling, at the end of the day, we all come here, we can't even spend the time to do the stuff. We say, no, we can't be doing that. Internet is not the thing that we have to come and meet. So I said, but brethren, I tell you, it ended up being done by just 1 or 2 persons. Because in reality, they couldn't meet up with time. It got to a time and said, please, you just do everything. We support what you are doing. Because they didn't want to change the order. They said we have to meet and start discussing. Discussing what? So a lot of people today do not understand how they can change their order, how they need to change the order, why they need to change the order. So you don't just stick to one idea, but you can change the idea, not the content. What I mean the idea now, the idea of reaching out. All right. You don't change the content, but you can change the strategy. It's very, very important. So what happened in Exodus 18 was that the idea was not changed, but the strategy changed. The idea was to minister to the people, but Jethro showed Moses a different strategy to reach out to the people. So, beloved, organizational culture can be referred to as the glue that keeps an organization together. So it is a silent code of conduct. It is more about how things get done rather than what gets done. How does the organization behave? All right, it can also be referred to as a white noise, like they said, the background static that may affect you, but goes unnoticed. So when a new employee is learning the ropes, they are learning the culture, how we do things here. So we must keep emphasizing how things are done in ministry. All right, because if people don't know, you don't expect them to live by codes that are not known. So there are different types of organizational culture. All right, and these things are unique. All right, and I would like to mention a few of them. Number one is the culture of power. So there are organizations that are ruled by power. They have a strong leader influence, behavior, and values. The leader influences all the ideas and beliefs. Is a leader, like we talk about open and close. So this type of culture is very common in small companies, early stage business and startups, where they don't have so much clients. So the owner of the business is the cashier, is the one who goes to bank, is the one who sells, is the one, So it is power culture, where power is invested only on one man. Then we have the role culture. In role culture, formal systems determine values and beliefs by government departments. For example, you find it exists in role culture, where Ministry of Works runs anything that has to do with building and construction of road. Ministry of Agriculture, all right, it has to do with the road. So when you find yourself in such culture, it is always interesting to give out what you can afford. Then we have the task culture. In a company with a task culture, employees value task completion and achievements. It's very important that, hey, go do this thing. And at the end of the day, it's not done. Or how it is done does not matter. It's in a task culture, they want to know how a job was done and if the job was completed. So we often see this type of culture in project teams where time and task resolution are important. All right. So if you are meant to do road works, all right, there should be a time frame. Most of the roads construction we find, they give you a date. Now, in other words, we see this in project teams. We are getting things done and meeting deadlines are top priorities. So when you are given an assignment in a task-oriented culture, all right, everybody wants to see how you finished it, not you started. And that is how we should build our culture. Whatever you start, finish it, wrap it up. Don't leave things undone. And when that becomes your cultural ideology in your leadership, it makes things work faster. So everybody wants to know how far. All right. Then we talk about personal culture. In this type of culture, personal interests, beliefs, and ideologies are important drivers. So people come up with their own belief system. A professional service company that incorporates a lot of beliefs and ideas of its own employees, for example, has personal culture. So personal culture has to do when what you do is about you. Everybody wants to do what seems pleasing to them. Then we also have video organizational culture. This Denison cognitive video talks about organizational culture and explains what it is. It begins by telling us that every organization has its own unique culture. And culture is not a thing. It is not something an organization has or doesn't have. Culture is something an organization is. You must understand that the video culture is what people see about you. Your organization could be assessed today, and you will be able to define your culture in specific terms and even identify your subcultures. That means things that you do within your organization. So it is good that we deal with that so that we all can be able to work at the same terms. You labor on this. Leaders challenge. The challenge of leadership, number one, your challenge is to recognize that it exists and that it molds reality for your employees. You must recognize that if you don't create a culture, all right, there will be an auto culture, a culture that creates itself. For example, if there's a culture of late coming, all right, people comes late in your meetings and you didn't address it, you end up even coming late because it becomes something that is auto. So your job is to ensure that the culture does not become dysfunctional. The role of the leader is to keep the culture in the right direction. When this happens, culture, especially if it is a strong one, it can be a liability. So you must understand that a cultural assessment allows you to continuously examine your culture and to determine how healthy it is. One of the ways you can assess your culture, all right, is to have a report. All right, it will identify where your incongruencies lie, determine what effect they are having on your business or your organization. It helps you to develop a plan to rectify situations. So these things are actually basically true. So check your culture. All right, Jesus always referred to how the disciples were doing things. May God help us and keep us intact in Jesus' name. Thank you very much, and God bless you.